Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Checkride Chat. My name is Wally,
I'm Jason.
and we're trying something different now. We are recording remotely. I'm in Texas, and Jason is up in Denver, Colorado, doing his day job, if you will. It's been a couple. What's it been? Like 10 days since we've recorded, or so, maybe 2 weeks, something
Yeah,
like that. But we're
scheduling
back
with
at it.
life was getting in the way.
Yeah, so we just had some scheduling issues, but we're trying this recording remotely, and hopefully this is going to work, and this is going to give us a lot more flexibility if we can record in different parts of the world. So I've got a brand new type rating, 787 type rating in my pocket since we've last been on. So maybe that'll come up in conversation. But in the meantime, what we're going to talk about, we're going to continue our dive into the ACS. And I think the last thing that we talked about in the ACS was the ground portion, the oral. So the oral was done. We're now heading out to the airplane. So we are now in area, again, we are referencing the private pilot ACS, which is very much like the commercial for our purposes. Anybody, whether you're commercial instrument rating or whatever, you can relate to what we're going to talk about. But we're on area of operation 2, which is pre-flight preparation. And if we look at task A, it's pre-flight assessment. So we're going to go pre-flight an airplane, and we're going to watch you pre-flight an airplane. Any thoughts on applicants' pre-flights, Jason?
Well, first things first, obviously we're walking out to the airplane, right? But the very first thing is still pilot self-assessment, right? So you just got through the oral, you still need to self-assess. That's your I'm safe checklist. So if anything's changed, if you're feeling sick, nervous, you got a phone call, text message while we took a break that needs to get verbalized. You still need to be in the right mindset before you kind of take that second leg for this check ride. So do not forget the self-assessment.
I think most people will say that the oral is the most, I don't know, there's more variableness in the oral. I
There
don't know if
is.
that's a word,
They have it's
variableness.
this
I
litany
think,
of stuff.
yeah. I think everybody knows that private pilot, you're going to do steep turns, you're going to do some hood work, you know the maneuvers that you're going to do. So, you're probably taking a deep breath. What I like to tell my applicant is, okay, we're done with the ground. Good job. Let's go fly. Let's take a break. And I'll usually tell them, look, we're in good shape on time. If you need to get something to eat, that this isn't go order from DoorDash type, go eat. But if you need a snack, grab some crackers or use the restroom. And as you mentioned, make a phone call. Hey, you need to call home and check in on something. This is the time to do it. I don't have an issue at all with people that need to do that. Life goes on, and we understand that.
Absolutely.
What's your record? What's your record for a pre-flight on a? What's your record time for a pre-flight on a check ride, Jason?
Record being like a bad record.
Longest.
Longest record. That's what I thought you were gonna get at. Longest, I would say it was a solid pushing 30 minutes. And it's so on that
Okay.
pre-flight, it is grab your checklist, grab your PO, right? Because it says reference with a checklist. We're not checking rivets. We're not I guess you could say not checking. We're not counting rivets. We're not building the aircraft. You know what a walk around is. I'm
Right.
not saying shortcut anything. That's not what I'm implying. Go do your walk around. You have done 100 by this time. You know what you're looking for. That's all we can ask. If you find something out of the ordinary, reference that checklist. Is this right? Is this normal? If you're unsure of something, call your CFI, call a friend that maybe has a little more experience. If you're super, super unsure, if you can get a hold of a mechanic, call the mechanic. I would say if you get to that point, maybe you're not going flying because if it's something that out of the ordinary, something you've never seen, do you really want to go play that game airborne? And I would probably say that's not going to
Right.
happen, right?
Right. I've got you beat. I mean, I've had 45-minute pre-flights where, oh my gosh, we are checking. We are down on the ground, and we're walking back into the hangar to get a quart of oil to come back out to put the oil in. Now we got to walk back into the restroom to wash our hands because we got oil on them, and then we come back out, and then we check the fuel and realize. we need to call the fuel truck.
So
So
on that note, this is for the CFIs. Do your students a favor and maybe go pre-flight the airplane before they go pre-flight the airplane to make sure the
yeah,
oil is good, to make sure the fuel is good, to make sure if anything is happening, maybe it can get remedied or fixed during the oral, just to make everybody's life easier. You're not doing the pre-flight for the students, you're just doing stuff that is saving time. So there's no point in the
yeah,
student
yeah,
adding the oil or calling for the gas. That's kind of just wasting everybody's time. If it can be avoided, do it. If the plane just came in, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it.
yeah. When we take a break during the ground portion, a lot of times I will say to the applicant, "Hey, why don't you go out to if the airplane's close? Sometimes it's not really feasible, but if the airplane is close, I'll say, "Hey, is the airplane flying right now? No, it's sitting right out front. Do we have fuel? I don't know." I said, "Well, why don't you go check that while we take a break?"
Yeah,
And about half the time, the applicant, it happened to me today. The applicant came in and said, "Okay, fuel truck's on the way." I go, "Great. We've still got 45 minutes to go, and then we'll be ready to go. By the time we go out there, we'll have
exactly.
fuel."
Exactly. I would say
So
if waiting for oil or fuel is probably that's just that awkward silence between examiner and
yeah,
applicant, and it's just gonna drive up some nerves. So if we can avoid
yeah,
that, let's do that.
yeah. And I'll ask a question or two about the pre-flight, and it's there. My questions are pretty softball questions. How much oil do we need? 6 quarts, 7 quarts. Okay, how much do we have? We got a little over seven. Okay, we're in good shape.
Yep. So as you get more advanced, instrument, I know we're talking private instrument, I'll start asking antennas. Commercial, on the
Yeah,
Cessnas, how many counterweights on the aileron do we need? How many this? Because you should know that. So just little
yeah,
things like that. It
yeah.
goes in proportion to what check ride we're doing.
What would you say a reasonable time to do a walk around on a single engine Piper or a single engine Cessna?
I'd say 5, 10 minutes tops.
Less than 10 minutes?
I 5 to 10, definitely
Yeah,
less than
yeah,
10. You're looking for big
yeah,
errors. It should be glaringly obvious if something isn't right on a walk around. And then just fast forward,
yeah,
that's the walk around. You finish the pre-flight kind of in the run-up. That's when you're checking the internal riggings of the flight controls. You're checking the engine, you're checking the magnetos. So between that walk around on the outside and then the run-up, that's you're checking the plane.
yeah.
But
And
at
and
no point do you need to build the
and
plane.
and the pre-flight could right. And the pre-flight can also start 100 feet away as you're walking up to the airplane. Take a look at it right now. Is the airplane sitting, like let's say you're walking straight on to the airplane. Is it does it appear to be level? No, that right wing looks really low. Okay, well maybe we got an issue with the right strut.
Or
It's
tire.
big pictures, big picture
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should honestly you should be doing it to your car as you walk up to your car at the same time. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we hop in the airplane and we now what? We're in the flight deck or the cockpit of the airplane. What are some issues that come up with you, Jason?
the passenger briefing is one of them. So I on my little kneeboard pad, I will write passenger. It'll be passenger. What are I can't think of it. It'll be passenger and then takeoff. Those are the three things that I'm looking for right out the gate. And then below that, I'll say taxi check, right? And I'll just check, check, check as the people do it. But passenger brief, I think we've discussed this at some point before, maybe like pet peeves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Engage your passenger. You cannot, a big thing at
Absolutely.
United when we give approach briefings, we don't want to quote brief the window. You want to look at your co-pilot. You want to look at your captain. You want to engage everybody on the flight deck. Yeah, I get it. Most people know how to use a seatbelt. Well, the new airplanes are like your car. The old airplanes are like the airplanes, right? So this is
Yeah.
how, do you have any
Yeah.
questions on your seatbelt? I've never been in a little plane. All right, let me show you how the seatbelt works. This is how you tighten it.
Yeah.
This is how the door works. Here's your emergency exit. Here's the fire extinguisher. But don't just
Right.
blatantly rattle it off. Slow down
Yeah.
and talk to somebody and get them involved. So that's the passenger
Yeah.
brief. Use of
Make
checklists.
sure they're yeah, make sure they're getting it. I use the analogy of throwing a baseball. When you throw a baseball to someone, you before you move on, you make sure they catch the ball.
Yeah. I mean, everybody references the checklist. That's fine. Use the checklist. The checklist is there so you don't miss stuff. The checklist is there as a reminder. You
Right.
are more than welcome to run
Right.
flows. You're more than welcome to do your I can't think of it, your memory items. Give me the passenger brief off of your head. If you've memorized it, that's fine. But then go double check the checklist to make sure you hit all the appropriate topics. Flows are awesome. I love flows,
Yeah.
but follow with a checklist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I tell people all the time when I go do my run up on my Saratoga, I don't use a checklist, and they look at me like I'm crazy. I go, no, I do the run up. I know it's 2,000 RPM. Cycle the prop, check the mags, check all my pressures, pull the throttle back. Now I go look at the checklist. So I do use the
Yep.
checklist, but I don't use the checklist as a do list. It's used as a checklist. It's checking my work.
And I think that's I would say that's an experience thing. He knows it as well as I. We run flows at the airlines all day long, but it is always followed step by step with the checklist. Yep, checked,
Yeah,
set, checked,
yeah,
on, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah,
it's always flowed, then followed.
yeah.
What's next? What do we got? I'm just looking down at
Uh,
the
all right.
ACS.
All right. We're talking about now flight deck management. Okay. So how about managing the stuff on the flight deck? I mean, we walk in there and we probably have stuff. Probably have most people are probably gonna have an EFB. Okay. Most people are probably gonna have a paper checklist. Maybe you're gonna have your nav log. Maybe you've got your sunglasses. Maybe there's stuff. So you got to figure out a way to manage that stuff. Where are you going to put all
Correct.
the stuff?
That is absolute flight deck organization. It's not a pet peeve. It's your airplane, it's your check ride, it's your flight deck. But I'll in the debrief, it's if they were shuffling and trying to find something, they have a checklist and it fell on the floor. Well, what's that yoke clip for, right? Why don't we use
Yeah,
why does nobody a lot of people now they have their EFB, which is the big EFB, it's the big iPad. A lot of people, and I'm not pushing it, but it makes sense. Have a knee board, have a pad of paper, have a little pen holder, have that can hold your checklist, that can hold. I understand the EFB, a lot of people write with their Apple pens and things like that. Fine. But if your checklist isn't on there, that's two items that are just when we start doing maneuvers, it could fall. There, a lot of checklists have the little tab at the top of the checklist so your knee board can clip it. And a lot of the newer checklists
yeah,
read like a book. There's a reason they're built like that. So you can tab checklists. You tab the emergency page, red. In-flight emergency, flip to the red, go. Pre-maneuver checklist, just in-flight checklist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Flight deck organization goes a long, long way. Even we
yeah,
always default to United because we're both United pilots. When we have, I will say this, like nobody at United uses a knee board. So some of the military guys, the single seat fighter guys, they'll come in and they'll have their knee boards. And we're just like, no, we don't need that. Our flight deck is big enough. We have mounts and everything everywhere. You need to put your knee board away. But in a little airplane, when that's the only thing going, that's how you keep stuff and keep your ducks in a row. But we have printers on board. You have to keep that organized. If something's old, if it's an old ATIS, you need to get it off of the flight deck. But the Airbus guys, this is a little bit more, but the Airbus guys, they are really, really good at folding paper. It's like origami all over the flight deck. 7.3 guys, we won't talk about the 7.3. That's just inter service rivalry type thing. 7.5 is pretty organized. We have a nice little place up top. 777 and I can't speak to the 7.8, but the 777 guys have a little cute little clipboard. Everything goes on the back of the pedestal. So, but everything, if you want a sheet of paper, if you need takeoff data, landing data, en route weather, ETOPS weather, ATISes, whatever, it's all right there. And you just grab the clipboard and you go find what you need. Everybody knows where everything is at all
yeah.
times. And it starts down at the little
A
airplanes and
little
it,
bit of a
it doesn't
funny,
go away.
yeah, a little funny. side track to that is just recently in my 787 training, one of the sim periods, the instructor was making fun of myself and my sim partner. My sim partner was another captain. We had two captains, and our paper organization was not good. There was paper all over the place. And the guy saying, "Why do we still have the ATIS from four takeoffs ago?" I don't know. He told me that I was very quick to tear the paper off the printer, and my sim partner never tore the paper off the printer. He said, "So you guys need to kind of come in the middle
It's true.
and
And it's, I
organize
get it
things."
in this, I get it as an instructor. I get it. We reposition and it's like, all right, your weather's now this. You're now at this airport,
Yeah,
this runway, this.
yeah,
It's endless amounts of paper, which it can get overwhelming, but that also adds to the fact is you should kind of keep your stuff and you should keep your stuff together and have everything organized so you
yeah.
know what you're looking at so nothing gets mixed. So flight
It
deck
is nice to have a
organization, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you're going to need that flight log. So don't put the flight log in your bag, which is in the baggage compartment, which we can't get to in flight. So, and I've had that. I've had to taxi back in and the applicant shut down the engine and get out and go to the back of the airplane to get his little piece of paper. So just have a system.
Yep. So on that, the have everything ready foggles. You need your view limiting device, whether it's a hood, foggles. Don't put that in the back either, because I'm not about to scale into the back seat into the cargo to grab your foggles.
Yeah,
So a little bit
yeah.
of planning goes a long way.
Yeah. And I always, as part of my briefing, my flight briefing, I say, I do not have a view limiting device. So make sure you have one. And a lot of times what I get is, oh, it should be in the airplane. I go, okay, you're gonna go with it should be. It might be. Okay. Maybe that's something to add to your
Yep.
pre-flight. Make sure you have those foggles or whatever you're using. All right.
We have the
So
engine
we're
starting
now in the
now.
airplane.
Cool. Engine.
Yeah, it's time to start the engine. What are your thoughts about that, Jason?
Smooth, smooth, finesse, finesse is what I can say with that. So, number one, run the before start checklist and have the keys ready. Have the keys, excuse me, in the ignition ready to go. So when I'm saying that,
Yes.
this is why. So it's cold outside. It's the first flight of the day. Whatever it might be. If you prime the aircraft, if you use the primer, or if you turn the fuel pump on and you purge it and you jockey the throttle three full strokes, okay, great. You just put gas into the cylinders. You just put gas. You introduced fuel into the system. If you're not ready to start basically within 3 seconds, all that gas is just going to pretty much drain back out. So all that work you just did, if you're not ready to go,
Yeah.
it's kind
Right.
of worthless. So when you prime and you say, clear prop, it should be immediately after that, turn the key. It should not be, oh, where's the key? And I get it quite a bit, right? So that's part of that. 172, I think Romeos and Sierras, right? I'm going off of memory here. Throttle quarter inch, fuel pump on, mixture full rich. You're going to look for your fuel flow to increase. Okay, fuel pump off, mixture cut off, and right then and there, it should be ready to crank. And as it engages, the checklist says as the engine engages or as the engine starts, smoothly advance the mixture.
Yeah.
Smoothly advance the mixture does not mean jam the mixture through the firewall. So that's
Right.
because if you do it too fast, you're gonna flood it. You're gonna choke it out. So that's you just
Yeah.
I guess the big thing is finesse and slow down a little bit on that. The other
Yeah.
aspect, especially on that airplane, the quarter inch, move it forward a quarter inch. A quarter inch is not a quarter travel, right? It's saying I might be getting this wrong, but I think it's a quarter inch. That's not a lot. You're just cracking it. If you leave the
Right.
throttle closed, no gas, that throttle has to be open for the fuel to even be introduced. So if you want to
Right.
test this theory out, pull the throttle all the way closed and then go try to do it. Go fuel pump in full mixture. There you will not see any fuel flow. until you crack that throttle. Would you agree, Wally?
Right. No, totally agree.
So,
And by the time you're on a check ride, you've started the engine quite a lot. And you should,
hmm
I hate to say this, but you should at this point kind of know the personality of the airplane, if you will. 172S is a 172S. There's not major differences in them. I'll tell you a funny story. I bought my Saratoga, I don't know, 12 years ago, and I went up to Ohio and bought it. The guy kind of gave me a little checkout, and he told me how to start it. Okay. And I went, okay. So I went out and started it, start to head home. I spent the night in Tennessee somewhere and get up the next day. I had a heck of a time starting the airplane, starting his airplane, starting this airplane. I did his little technique. You know what I did? I looked in the POH, and there's a procedure in the POH, and I followed that. That thing just boom started right up.
yep,
So
yep,
when all else fails, and I really like Piper because Piper. Well, I like Cessnas too, but Piper has four. Most Pipers will have four start procedures. They'll have a cold start procedure. They'll have a hot start procedure. They'll have a flooded start procedure. They will also have a starting engine using external power procedure.
yep.
It's all right there in front of you. I flew our Saratoga yesterday. Went had lunch, got back out to the airplane, and it's okay.
Hot.
Is this a hot start? The airplane's been here for about an hour, and I said, well, let's start with a hot start procedure. Boom, started right up, right up.
Yep, yep. And that's yeah, it's smoothest, what is it? Slow is what's the phrase? Smoothest, slow is smooth, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
And smooth. Yeah.
Smooth is slow, slow is fast. Whatever. You know what we're trying to say. So
Slow.
my goal is slow down and get it. On that note, that quarter inch or the quarter crack, that is a lot of people just will jam it. They'll go halfway up. They always think more is better.
Right.
And that's the other thing. When you start that engine, left hand turns the key, right hand needs to be where? On the
On the
throttle.
throttle.
Because if
Yeah.
it's too
Yeah.
much, when you crank that engine, that airplane is going to leap. Hopefully, you're on the brakes. It's ready to pull
Yeah.
that thrust or that throttle straight back. The whole
Yeah.
finesse, that is everybody that I debrief, they all know it's like slow down and finesse it a little bit. If you start an
Yeah.
engine like that, what are you kind of telling your passengers? I get it,
Yeah.
you're new to the whole aircraft world, but it's going to make them a little bit uncomfortable, and you haven't even taxied yet. So where I'm going
Right.
with that is you wouldn't drive a car like that. If you're in rush hour traffic, you don't floor it and then slam on the brakes. You just give it a little bit of gas. It's
Right.
You got to taxi kind of how you drive, if that is even a good parallel. Don't be jerky when you taxi. Don't be jerky when you start the airplane. Don't be jerky
Right.
on your flight controls or your throttles. Your passengers feel all of that. And it's just, if you want your passengers to be smooth, calm, and collected, you need to have some finesse and you need to slow down a little bit and just make everything as smooth as you can.
My first boss, my first flying job, I was a CFI and later became a charter pilot. And he said to me, he said, the best compliment one of your passengers can give to you is the words smooth flight. And so I tell you, that was like 1984.
Yep.
So 42 years ago, smooth, smooth, smooth. My father, when I learned to drive, I was driving a 1974 Mustang standard transmission, and he would go out and drive with me, and he would sit there and close his eyes, and he didn't want to know when I shifted. I had to make it to where he couldn't even tell that I shifted gears, and it was all about being smooth. So those are two influential men in
It
my life, and I take that to just taxiing an airplane around.
Yeah, there's no reason to be jerky, like at all. It just makes everything and everybody uncomfortable. You want that
Yeah.
compliment at the end. So I would challenge yourself simply, yeah, to just to try to make it smooth. Don't be, gas brake, gas brake, gas brake. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I might be I don't do it when I'm piloting the airplane, but can you imagine if airliners were like, all right, left turn, turn left, whoa. It's
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't fly them again.
Right.
We can't control gusty conditions, but we can
Yeah.
control how we operate the flight, and that's kind of where it's going with. So, all right, I think we beat that one
Yeah.
to death.
Yeah, and next thing I want to say is opening the window and yelling clear prop. It's not just a matter of yelling clear prop and starting the engine. I mean, when you yell it, look out there. Make sure no one's out there. If you see some people walking in front of you, try to make sure that they know that you're about to start the engine. And to the people who are walking, if you're walking on a ramp in between airplanes, I always make eye contact with the pilots. I want them to know that I know that engine is running. I don't just look away from them. It's a little bit of comfort to see someone walking in front of me and they're looking at me. So
Hmm.
anyway, we don't hear of people walking into propellers, but I think it'd be a bad day for everybody involved, including you sitting in the cockpit.
No, that would be a bad day for certain, and that would be
Yeah.
something you would never ever forget. That might ruin your whole outlook on life per se.
Yeah, yeah. And that is a under engine starting risk management. It just says propeller safety. And of course, the under skills, the last element under skills is complete the appropriate checklist. So, if you got a before start checklist or an after start checklist, you probably have them both, maybe. Complete the appropriate checklist. All right, so we've got the engine started. I don't know. We've been at it for about 30 minutes. I think this is a good stopping point. What do you think, Jason?
That works for me. We'll talk about taxiing on the next one.
Okay.
Taxiing into the run up, little things we look for, little why are we doing this is maybe some good
Yeah.
talking about for the next items.
Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, we'll see you next time. Hey, we are really close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're about 15 short, and we've been hanging out here at 985 for a long time. So if you haven't subscribed, do us a favor, go down there, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends about us, and we're gonna try to keep the momentum going. And we'll be back soon. See you later.
But bye now.